Description of love that I know of is the one that was written by the Apostle Paul 2,000 years ago. Isn't that amazing? We have grown in so many ways in technology, and there's so much more we know today than even our parents knew, our grandparents knew a few years ago. It's absolutely amazing. We know so much about astronomy and physics and electronics and computers and lasers and genetics, and the list just goes on and on. So many things have changed so drastically. I serve on the board of trustees at Asbury Seminary, and Asbury's in just outside of Lexington, Kentucky. My granddad grew up in Kentucky, and when he was a teenager, he and some of his brothers and sisters moved to West Texas. And he's told me stories about it took him about 5 or 6 weeks on a covered wagon and horseback, making that journey at about 30 to 40 miles a day. I make that today in about 4 hours on the plane, including an hour sitting in DFW. Travel has changed so drastically, but there are things that have changed far more drastically than that. I have a laptop computer I take with me to the board meetings because they show reports and they put information up on the screen they want us to have, and then it downloads right automatically onto our computer so we can see it. Well, I was having some problem with my laptop computer, and so I took it over to what I used to think was the IT department. I understand that stands for IT, for information technology, but for some old folks like me, that's a little advanced. But I took it over there, and this young guy was there, and I said, my computer's freezing up. Could you maybe look at it and see if there's something we can do? And he just kind of looked at it and kind of looked at me and looked at that. And he said, how long have you had this? And I said, 3 or 4 years. And he thought, So he opened it up and turned it on. It was made in 2008. He was still in junior high when that computer was made. He said, this thing is so old, there is not any way to fix it. I said, what do you mean? It's still a good computer. It just freezes up every now and then. He said, there's no parts, there's no programs, there's nothing you can do. It is obsolete. And I said, no, wait a minute, it's not that old. He said, in computer language, it's older than the New Testament. I said, well, the New Testament's still good. He said, yeah, but God made it. And God didn't make this computer. And he said, my best advice to you is to go get you a new computer. Well, I just hate it when these guys, they're not even very kind when they say that to us old folks. But I did. I now have a tablet, and I go to the board meeting, and it downloads on that tablet so I can see. Folks, things have changed so drastically. You see this little gizmo? I've got 40 years of sermon material in a 4-drawer file cabinet in my house, and this has more information on it than that whole 4-drawer computer. It has all my sermons on it and a whole lot of more information. It's amazing how the world has changed, but it hasn't changed in every way. It's changed in some ways, and we have a far more technology. We can travel farther, faster than any previous generation, but there's still things that maybe aren't as up to date as they need to be. In fact, I was reading in a professional journal not long ago, and it said if you look in the Encyclopedia Britannica, it doesn't have a listing for love. In fact, he said if you go to psychiatric analytical journals or magazines or information, or you look at psychological testing, we have made such vast discoveries in dealing with emotional disorders and treating problems that we couldn't treat, but nowhere do you find a listing for love. You would think by this time that with our psychiatrists and psychologists and our counselors and our pastors, surely someone would have been able to expand on the definition of love, and we would know more about love today, but that isn't necessarily true. Eugene Kennedy, in his book, A Time for Love, wrote these words. He said, walk across the Boston Common in the afternoon when the office workers are leaving the State House and look in their faces. You'll find the faces of people longing for love. Look around you, and everyone seems to be waiting for someone to light up their life with love. A face of a drug addict, a face of a lonely child, an older person, a teenager. In all these you sense people's deep longing and hunger for closeness with someone who loves them. We've replaced a lot of things, but we've not replaced the need for love. We've modernized a lot of things, but we have not changed people's desire to be loved, to experience love. The Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 this great passage, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, and I have no love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all that I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned but have not love, I gain nothing. What does Paul mean by this? To put it in maybe a more understandable language, if I had the ability to speak eloquently and to so captivate you with my abilities, but I didn't have love, it'd be like a noisy gong. If I had all knowledge and wisdom, and if I could understand the greatest mysteries of life today, but I didn't have love, it wouldn't amount to anything. If I had a deep spiritual life, that's what he's talking about, a deep faith here. If I had a deep spiritual life, I had a great understanding of God. I had so much faith that I could resolve any problem that was standing in front of you. But if I didn't have love, it would be meaningless. If I was wealthy and I gave away everything I had so that I died as a pauper and I was put into a poor man's grave, I would gain nothing if I didn't have love. That's what Paul is saying. Do you see what he's trying to say? Love is the most valuable, important thing in life. Love is more important than so many other things, and yet we emphasize a lot of things when we do love. We emphasize education, and believe me, I believe in education, but so much of our education today is missing the mark because it isn't filled with the passion of love. We put a heavy emphasis on being well trained for our jobs, our careers, so that we might succeed in life. But we fail to help people understand that the most important thing they have in life is not a career, not a job, but their love for others. We put an emphasis on financial worth and making good investments and managing money and not having debts and all of that. And yet we teach people so little about love, folks. I can't emphasize it enough. Love is essential. It's not something that we can live without. Love is something that all of us need. But what is love? If you went out and asked the common person, the average person on the street to describe or define love, they'd probably give you some scene out of a Hollywood movie or some lyrics out of a country and western song, and that would be their best definition or description of love. And so many times what they would be talking about is love is whatever makes me feel good. It's about me. And it's about my getting what I want and my feeling good. And if you begin to listen to their definition, it'd be my getting an invitation to the latest party, my having the right crowd, my having access to drugs or alcohol or casual sex. So many of the things that people would use to describe love today are those things that are temporary and really don't have anything to do with love. It's all about what it does for me. Paul isn't talking about what it does for me, Paul is writing a description of love, of what it does for others. Listen to his description again. He says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. Love is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. You see, real love is a matter of the heart, the attitude. You see why Jesus said to Nicodemus, you must be born again? Because what he was trying to say, and Nicodemus says, you were born with a bad heart. And all of us were born with a bad, not physical heart, but with an emotional heart. We were born with a heart, as one of my professors used to say, that has been corrupted and is turned inward on itself. The very first thing a baby does is to reach out and grasp hold of a finger. We love that. But folks, we spend the rest of our life trying to learn how to turn loose, how to give instead of receive. It's much easier to talk about real love than it is to have real love. It's easier to describe it than it is to experience it. How can we improve on what Paul's talking about here? Well, one of my old professors years ago was named Dr. Tom Caruth. He wrote a book on 40 Days of Love. And in that book, he described a practice that maybe all of us would find beneficial. He said, take 7 blank cards about the size of a business card, and write on the first card Monday, and on the second card Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then on the card that says Monday, go back and write these words, love is patient and kind. And on Tuesday's card, write, love is not jealous or boastful. And Wednesday's card, etc., down the line. And then put that card up on Monday morning somewhere where you're going to see it a half a dozen times during the day. So that you'll see it and remember, love is patient and kind. Folks, you see, it's not a matter of information. It's a matter of inspiration that changes us. And the inspiration comes as we see it and we're challenged by it and we say, oh, Lord, how can I do that today? And on Monday we begin to think, Lord, how can I be patient and kind today? And someone said, you can't rush patience. You know the old prayer, Lord, give me patience, and give it now. We're all challenged. We have busy schedules. We have a lot of demands. We have a lot of things going on. If you're a young parent, you've got children, school age, you're trying to get them up in the morning, get them ready to go, and then get them to eat their breakfast, then get all their stuff together and get them in the car and get them to school. And then before you know it, they're out of school and you're picking them up and you need to get them here, you need to get them there, and you're running all day long. And it's hard to be patient when our schedules are so packed with activities. It's hard to be kind when we're so busy that we hardly have time to think what we're doing, and we need something like that reminder that says love is patient, and we begin to pray and we say, Lord, where do I need to be patient today? And when you pray that prayer, get ready, because He's going to show you. He's going to show you where you can be a little bit more patient with others. You see, love is not what happens to me, but love is what I'm showing to others. And when I'm not patient, when I'm not kind, it says something. Lord knows we need help. And that's why Jesus said the Spirit comes to help us. But how does He help us? He helps us find those places and those people with whom we need to be more patient and we need to be more kind. And on Tuesday, we put up the card that says, love is not jealous or boastful. And we say, Lord, help me today to not be jealous or boastful. Now, I know that's probably not something that you wrestle with, but I know people who do. They're a little jealous because something their neighbor got something that we didn't get. They're a little envious because someone got the promotion that I should have gotten. We're a little, and we tend to not want to be around them because we didn't get what we thought we deserved and somebody else. And boastful. Now, I know we don't have any trouble boasting, but let me tell you what boasting really is. Boasting is when you're trying to tell me something, and instead of my listening to what you're trying to tell me, I'm thinking of what I really wish you'd hurry up and finish so I could tell you what I want to tell you. Now, some of you have got a problem with that because I've been trying to tell you about my grandkids and you haven't been wanting to listen. You know what I mean? And I probably haven't been as good myself as wanting to hear about your grandkids. So I don't want you to feel that it's all you and not me. We're together. Boasting is when we're more interested in what we're interested in instead of what someone else is interested in. And the Apostle Paul says, love is not boastful. Love is not our becoming so interested in our own things that we're not paying attention to what other people are saying or what they want to tell us. And on Wednesday, we pick up the card that says, love is not arrogant or rude. We can skip over that one. I know you've already got that one down. And on Thursday, we say, love does not insist on its own way. Are we guilty of that? Well, yes, there are times that we all want things to work the way we think they ought to work. And sometimes we're not as loving and understanding and willing to listen and care and be as kind because we want things to work out the way we think they ought to work out. And you see, in every one of these phrases, the Apostle Paul gives us some very important ways to show love. Because love is not getting my own way. Love is not listening to my own stories. Love is not taking care of myself. Love is my reaching out to others, my listening to them, my caring for them. Love is not irritable or resentful. We could go on down the list. If you did that, if you put those on a card and you put it up and every day you changed that card and you looked and you prayed and you said, Lord, help me today to do this, would it make a difference? I think all of us would agree and say, yeah, it'd make a difference. It would help us because all of us get in a hurry and we fail sometimes to practice that which we know is important. In The Art of Loving, Eric Fromm wrote these words, most people see the problem of love primarily as that of being loved rather than that of loving. Hence, for them, the problem is how to be loved more, not how can I become more loving. The obsession of our time is my being loved, not my giving love. The number one problem with divorce is that we have spent more time wanting to receive than we have on learning how to show love for others. Love. Love takes practice. It's not that we don't know, it's just that we just don't get around to doing those things that demonstrate our love for others. But as the old lyric goes, a song is not a song unless you sing it. A bell is not a bell unless you ring it. Love is not put in your heart to stay. Love is not love unless you give it away. That's what we're talking about. And the Apostle Paul ended by saying, love never ends. Love never ends. Other things will pass away, but love will never end. Let's pray together. Gracious Father, we're grateful that we have the words written so long ago that still inspire us and challenge us and show us right from wrong. Lord, help us not only hear your word today, but to go out with a determination that we will practice love the way you taught us to. And we'll be the kind of people that love others and show your love for others in the things we do and say and how we listen and how we care for them. Bless us, Father, Use us for your glory and your name. Amen.